G'day, it's fugitive Australian journalist Shane Dowling from the website kangaroocourtofaustralia.com. Now, you're about to watch an interview I did recently with two journalism students from Monash University, Aaron and Bridie, and it covered contempt and judice law. And obviously, I've got a little bit of experience in relation to contempt from a media viewpoint. The interview is fairly self-explanatory. They asked me a few questions and I answered them. Unfortunately, the sound on my end wasn't very good because I wasn't focused. I wasn't doing the story or interview, so I didn't speak directly into my microphone, which you can see. And unfortunately, the sound on my end wasn't great, but I've adjusted it a bit, and you might have to adjust your own sound a bit to hear it a bit better. Other than that, here it is.
So,
If you didn't know, it's Aaron and Bridie.
yeah, Aaron and Bridie. So we're from Monash University. We're doing a class in journalism called Crime Courts and Cabinets. And for our group project, we're looking at primarily judice and contempt in court and how journalism journalists have come into strife with contempt and certain stories in Australia specifically. So we have a few questions here today to ask you. And I think Bridie can maybe go for it.
So our first question is, what drives you and necessitates your voice as a non-mainstream media outlet, as a journalist that isn't with a big corporation?
What motivates me? Well, what motivated me to set up the website in the first place, Kangaroo Court of Australia, was because I had a legal case against Fairfax Media back in 2006, 2007, 2008. I wasn't a journalist there, I was a salesperson. And I had an unlawful termination and I got bounced around. One of the directors of Fairfax knew the magistrate. He was playing games. I ended up instituting proceedings not just against Fairfax Media, but the directors individually, 7 or 8 of them, and they didn't like that. So I got bounced around for about 3 or 4 years. And I couldn't believe the corruption that go on there within the court system, the legal system. So that's what ultimately motivated me. I wrote a book about it, Love Letters from the Bar Table. It's got all the letters, correspondence, the love letters from the bar table. That was me sending correspondence. Giving you the middle finger in effect.
Yeah.
But it chronicles the whole case and it was extremely disappointing. The stress level was through the roof then because you can't believe the corruption that goes on within the court system. You actually experience, and it's all documented. And that's what it did motivate me to set up the website because you'd approach the media and there'd be no one who'd want to go near judicial corruption by and large, and certainly no one who specialised in it and understood it. So my website specialises in judicial corruption. I go out on a limb and I name judges. I accuse them of corruption. Same as the old media do with everyone else. Business people, they write articles every week accusing them of corruption. When it comes to the judges and that, no, they back right off. And that's because it's not their specialty. It's not what they do. Well, I do it.
And it could land you in hot water, right? As like if you go for the judges. What is like the main, I guess, fear surrounding outing the courts system and judges and whoever it may be? Like, what is it? Are people scared to do it because they don't know what the ramifications may be, or it's
Well, they're scared to do it because there's no one specialising in it. So. The people who are outing the business people for fraud and theft, there's a big article in today's Sydney Morning Herald on their website at least, naming Bruce McWilliam for covering up financial fraud investigation at Channel 7. Now, that was covered up by the media, and so the people reporting on it, that's what they specialise in, reporting on business corruption or businesses. And because there's no one reporting on corruption in the judiciary, they're too scared. They're scared of the judges. Well, I took them on. Now, the ramifications of that is you're never going to get a fair trial in court. I had contempt charges in the New South Wales Supreme Court I named 15 or 20 of them as being corrupt, taking bribes and major crimes
Yeah.
on my website.
Yeah.
And they all knew who I was and had my guts because they don't like being held to account. It's like everyone knows how corrupt the federal politicians are.
Yeah.
You read about it all the time, especially the last previous government. Corruption everywhere. But and that's with media totally focused on it. Imagine a situation where media give them very little scrutiny, which is the courts. Imagine how corrupt the federal politicians would be then if they had very little scrutiny. And the courts don't, well, the judges don't get anywhere near the scrutiny they should. So that's the ramifications of it, is that I'll never get a fair trial, especially in New South Wales. When I was hit with contempt, I'd file an application to have an interstate judge to hear the matter, which is what happens, say, a barrister who knows a lot of the judges, they get charged with a criminal offence, they'll bring in an interstate judge. A judge or magistrate, gets hit with a criminal offence, they'll bring in interstate judge or magistrate to deal with that as well. And it happens from time to time. And because I was reporting on the judges, accusing numerous judges of being corrupt, taking bribes, etc., I applied to have an interstate judge brought in to hear the contempt matters, and they refused to do so point blank. Now, I was in New South Wales, Sydney from 2000 to 2019. 2019, I moved back to Queensland, where I'm originally from, and there's an outstanding contempt charge, plus 2 slap lawsuits that Kerry Stokes had filed against me. Kerry Stokes back in 2014 filed filed a slap lawsuit against me. Over time, it reached 4 slap lawsuits.
Yeah.
And they were finalised in 2022. Now, so I moved back to Queensland. There was 2 outstanding slap lawsuits, both Kerry Stokes and his associated companies, which were finalised. I think a third one might have been finalised while I was here, but it's basically over. And there was an outstanding contempt proceeding as well. The contempt wasn't a court. It was 7 West Media and Channel 7 suing me for contempt, instituting contempt proceedings against me.
I see.
As part of one of those slap lawsuits. And I tried to have them all moved to Queensland, which they should have been. Channel 7's got a huge office here. I'm a small self-represented litigant. It should have been moved back here. Another one was Capilano Honey. Now, Capilano Honey's head office is in Brisbane, and the CEO was suing me as well. He's based in Brisbane. I'm on the Gold Coast. All the parties that are in Queensland, I applied to have that moved back to Queensland. They refused to.
Wow.
No, the judge of the Wales Supreme Court. So there's an outstanding arrest warrant. They found me guilty of contempt. Outstanding arrest warrant. They're too scared to enforce it.
Yeah.
Because they made me deal with the contempt and those slap lawsuits via Zoom. Not Zoom, same thing. I forget, I think it's a Cisco system.
Yeah.
Same thing, Cisco, Zoom type of system. And they made me do it via that. So I recorded it. And I got the recordings of them acting corruptly, stitching me up. So if they tried to arrest me and have me extradited, what's the first piece of evidence they're going to file? Here, Your Honour, I'll be denied a fair trial back in New South Wales. Here's the recording. You watch it yourself. So they're too scared to charge me. Well, there's probably 2 key issues there. One, it's a trivial matter in the overall scheme of things. If there's a major drug dealer or a murderer on the run in another state, they'll ask those police forces to look for them, arrest them, and have them extradited back. For me, it's a trivial contempt that was instituted by Channel 7 and 7 West Media, its parent company, against an independent journalist. So it's old media trying to silence the new media.
Yeah.
And because it's also coming from 7 have been copying an absolute hiding in the media over the last couple of years. They funded the Ben Robert Smith defamation case, trying to cover war crimes. They're in big trouble now over the Bruce Lerman matter.
Yeah.
Paying for his cocaine and sex workers. So he'd do a story on Channel 7. And this is an alleged rapist. They're paying for his sex workers and cocaine.
Yeah.
Story. So they
So
in trouble then.
Yeah. So are those charges? Have they been like? Are they?
They have been convicted.
Yeah. So like, if you go back to Queensland or wherever you're saying, do they have the right to arrest you?
Wow.
if I go back to New South Wales, they have the right to arrest me.
I
They've
see.
got more problems with me and the
Of
evidence.
course.
Queensland has the Human Rights Act, and you're entitled to a fair trial. Fair trial isn't doing it via Zoom. It's your day in court. You're entitled to go into court. And you'll hear the Bruce Lemon defamation case. Good point. The judge wanted everyone in court, even a witness over in England. No Zoom for him, that witness in England. He has to fly here to come in the court. Because court, everyone gets to see everything. You get to see his body language. You get to see Zoom. Could be someone coaching him out of camera. All that sort of dodgy stuff. No, see him in the witness box. That's where you get a fair trial. You're entitled to a fair trial. I've denied that with a fair trial. And because Queensland has a Human Rights Act, that's the first thing I'd sort of rely on. Then I'd rely on the recordings showing that I wouldn't get a fair trial, and I never did. So, yes, if I go back to New South Wales, I could be arrested.
And with that, with you talking about a fair trial, and that sort of leads into our next question, where it's like, you know, you talk a lot about corruption and, you know, how everything is very skewed. Have you found yourself having figures, like public figures, coming to you privately, asking you, like, please take something down or do this or do that? Like, they're trying to almost silence you and give you a little hush money or something.
No, I've never had anyone try and give me hush money. I have had once or twice. I remember I was about to write an article about someone's wife, and he wanted to fly up from another state and meet with me for coffee. What for? I assumed money was going to try. He was going to try and bribe me. I never did meet with him, but so that was one instance, but not a lot of it. I have had people once sort of allude to it. I thought it was an allusion, not to bribe. They didn't come out and say that, but they hinted, hey, maybe something along those lines might happen.
Wouldn't be strange. Who knows? I
haven't had someone expressly say, here's a bribe. No. Never happened. I don't recall any.
You were talking as well about, obviously, our next question was leading in how you manage being charged and threatened with contempt. It seems that you've sort of answered that in a way where it's like it's a trivial charge that there's just no follow-up.
Well, there is. I've been jailed twice for 4 months, both times.
I
did
read it somewhere, but I wasn't sure.
Right.
So that
2017 and 2018. And there's an article in the Sydney Morning Herald about me doing jail, and a lot of the facts are wrong. The arrest warrant being before me. A lot of the facts are wrong, but they did get one fact right. It comes back to Kerry Stokes. Kerry Stokes instituted 4 slap lawsuits against me, starting in 2014. Then one in 2016, I think 2017 or something, or something. And the first contempt, I was fined $2,000. It was so corrupt and so dodgy, I didn't pay it. Went to the debt collectors. I rang and spoke to the debt collectors, and they said, put it in writing. They sent it to the New South Wales Justice Department, who has a overall responsibility for enforcing the fines. The courts don't. If you get fined $2,000 or something by the court for contempt, it goes over to the Justice Department to enforce it if you don't pay it. And I wrote to them after talking to the debt collectors, and the Justice Department wrote back and said, don't worry, we're not going to enforce the fine.
Really?
Because it's for breaching a super injunction in a defamation case. A super injunction where you're not even allowed to talk about the court case. And because I wrote an article telling people I'm being sued by Kerry Stokes and his lawyer, Justine Munsey, Stokes and that instituted contempt proceedings. But the super injunction was so scandalous, it only lasted a few days anyhow.
Wow.
Because I challenged it and the judge lifted it.
Wow.
Because it's absolutely scandalous. And that's one of the key points is that key issues. I've had 2 super injunctions issued against me. Another one was Capilano Honey, which lasted about 18 months. I ultimately appealed that. Well, I didn't appeal it. I asked for a review, which is the same as an appeal. I won. Capilano Honey appealed it, went to the full court of appeal, and I won 3-0. So the super injunction, wide-ranging suppression orders, non-publication orders were all lifted. So what was the original question again? Going off on this.
I don't know. It was just like, how do you manage being charged and with the
Or
contempt
threatened with
or threatened?
The best light is sunshine, as they say, shining a light on it. Now, with the original, that was the first contempt of $2,000 fine. I've still never paid it. I never had to pay it. I seen a couple of years later that I was up in the registry office. I was trying to appeal the matters to the High Court, and they brought up that particular matter, Mundy versus Dowling. There's still got the $2,000 debt on there. But the courts aren't responsible for enforcing it because I didn't pay it. It's up to the, well, sometimes they will get involved, but that's a different issue. When people had costs awarded against them. But this was a fine. So that was the first time. The second time was Jane Doe's. Now that's 4 women ultimately. It started off with 2 women suing me for defamation. Now, in relation to the Tim Warner sex scandal, Tim Warner Amber Harrison sex scandal, I don't know if you know much about that, but if you search that, once again, that's Tim Warner, the CEO of Channel 7, having multiple affairs with multiple staff members, using drugs at work, cocaine.
Yeah.
We had this before. Bruce Lee. And so I sued for defamation. Just get this in your mind too. All the proceedings that Kerry Stokes instituted against me were at ex parte hearings. They'd rock up to court without my knowledge, get suppression orders, non-publication orders in relation to 2 of them, added super injunctions, email me, say, here you go, you've got to take these articles. Now, the law has changed now, and you talk about one of the motivations. The defamation laws have changed. The way Kerry Stokes was abusing it, rocking up to court without my knowledge, getting suppression orders, non-publication orders, super injunctions. Can't do that now. Yeah. You could possibly with another corrupt judge. Well, they changed the defamation laws. You cannot institute defamation proceedings until you've served a concerns notice on another party. Then you've got to wait for 28 days for them to respond.
When did that change?
Well, most states have changed in the last sort of 12 to 18 months, 2 years. I think 2021 New South Wales brought the laws in, but what you have Australia-wide is uniform defamation laws, and you have since 2005. And they changed those laws recently. In all other states, except for Western Australia, and I wrote an article about it recently, why Senator Linda Reynolds is suing in Western Australia, because they still got the old defamation laws, which are a lot easier to sue on. And that's why she's over there suing everyone. And so Kerry Stokes nowadays could not get away with what he did to me. And he hasn't come near me since they finalised in 2022. But getting back to the contempt proceedings, they sued me for contempt because I took a stand in 2017. In 2014, 2017, Kerry Stokes kept on going to court. Every time I'd write an article about him, he'd run up to court, about the court proceedings, run up to court, get another suppression order, non-publication order. In 2017, I'd had a gutful and I said, no, I'm taking a stand. Well, I'd actually taken a stand in the Capilano Honey matter a few months before, 2016 actually, August 2016. I said, no, enough's enough, and I'm not going to take down these articles because he's abusing the law, he's getting super injunctions, suppression orders. And I took a stand in the Capilano Honey matter where I wrote about them suing Simon Mulvaney. Capilano Honey, major shareholder Kerry Stokes. So a few months later, the Jane Doe, Amber Harrison, Tim Warner thing hit the fan. I named 2 of the women, well-known actress and a well-known online host, and I ended up getting 4 months contempt for it in 2017.
Yeah.
And
what was it like being in the prison system as well? Like, you know?
Well, the first time it's fairly stressful.
Yeah.
Second time, used to it. Third time I got a restaurant where, you know, I spoke to a drug dealer last time I was in jail, and I said, look, he kept on coming back to jail. And I said, why do you keep on committing the crime? You keep on coming back. He said, well, I consider it an occupational hazard, being a drug dealer. And I thought about it, and I thought, well, you know, you got people flying into oil rigs in the ocean 6 months at a time. That's part of their job.
Yeah.
Jail's probably better than that.
Yeah. Truly.
And so I see it as part of the just
It's a part of the job. You
parcel,
just got to stick it through, just to because, like, you know, what you're doing is important. It's
Well, yeah, right. And there's two things. I have stuck it through. The law has changed, and I have no doubt, in part, because of those battles I had with Kerry Stokes, where I was reporting it online all the time, and everyone could see what was happening.
yeah,
They were silencing Simon Mulvaney, so everyone could see them abusing the law. Super injunction in defamation cases, it's a national scandal, and he got away with it twice. So I think the law's changed there, one. And two, now I've got an arrest warrant issue. They're too scared to enforce it.
yeah,
Because if they do, I rock off to court and I start filing all the evidence.
yeah.
Video recordings, sound recordings, documents. And so, and because there's a Human Rights Act, the Queensland courts have got to have a good look at it.
Yeah.
And all that evidence would be, what would happen? I'd start, writing about it again. So it'd be more articles,
Yeah,
more videos.
interesting.
So,
Do you want to ask about
Got
that one or?
So specifically about suppression orders, can you explain your opinion on them and whether you think that they remain constitutional? Do you think that they somehow inhibit, as you said before, your right to a fair trial? Basically, just run through your opinion on us.
well, suppression laws get abused all the time. And it's really, I don't write about family court very much, very rarely,
Yeah,
because they have fairly blanket suppression order on it. And there's always two sides to the story. So if you had the husband telling you the story of the wife, it's so emotional too. The people involved are just, and understandably, because it's their life.
Yeah.
It's their family and the children involved. So it's very complex. I can understand the sort of blanket suppression orders on the family court. But a lot of the cases, they're being abused. And I think with defamation law, they've woken up to it. If you look at the federal court, the New South Wales Supreme Court, they both in their acts, the Federal Court Act and the New South Wales Supreme Court Act, they could potentially abuse that still.
Yeah.
Because they both have, the judges can order any order they see fit or words to that effect that gives them ultimate power. But if they would abuse that to override the defamation, it'd be big trouble, especially if they got found out. They could be doing it now, we don't know.
yeah, I'm sure they are. I mean, seeing as how corrupt everything is.
But in one of the defamation cases in WA where Linda Reynolds is suing Brittany Higgins' partner, David Shiraz, they actually raised me. They said, oh, Mr. Dowling's written an article where Linda Reynolds had threatened me too. But it's pointless suing him, her lawyer told the court, because he's not scared to go into jail.
Yeah.
I don't know what relevance that had, but that's what he said in there. So while they can still be abused, if they were caught out, if they hit me up with a super injunction or defamation, well, what's going to happen? Be straight up on the internet.
Yeah.
And they know it. So they'd want to be very careful if they are abusing the law in there. Now, in relation to suppression, also George Pell one was a very good issue where they had suppression orders on that, but international media started reporting on it. So anyone who wanted to find out what was happening, they could just go on the internet. The reason they had suppression orders on his case, his court case, because they had another outstanding court case to go.
Yep.
And they didn't want all the publicity to potentially influence that.
Yeah.
Now, the media here ended up breaching it, and they were charged with sub judice contempt.
Yep.
And the media companies were hit too, and they ended up settling. They withdrew all the charges against the individual journalists and editors and that, and they just hit the media companies up with big fines. And they did threaten me at one point, but I had everything documented.
Yeah.
The judge in New South Wales raised it in court that it was a waste of time, or the party did, she agreed that it was a waste of time, the suppression orders. So I wrote an article about it because they hit me, threatened me with contempt. I've emailed you a link, you can see the letter in there from the Victorian DPP. But I had everything documented, which I wrote in the article. Here's the email. When I wrote the article, and said, look, Justice McCallum's breached those suppression orders. She's raised the fact that they're a waste of time. She's a defamation list judge. I had the emails I'd sent to courts in Victoria. So it's covered me. So they can not really hit me with contempt.
Yeah.
So
What?
my view of suppression orders, they have a purpose at times.
Yeah.
People are facing multiple crimes. They really have to put the suppression order so it has an impact on other cases. But they are abused and abused a lot, or they have been in the past. It's harder now with the defamation. Kerry Stokes was a bad abuser of it.
Yeah.
Suppression orders on publication orders, super injunctions.
And do you think that's like in part because of that corruption and that Kerry Stokes has, you know, connections with the courts and judges that allow them to abuse the abuse orders?
It's not a perception of connection. Kerry Stokes' right-hand man is Bruce McWilliam. He's the one getting in hiding in the paper today. He admitted in a story about him in the Sydney Morning Herald, if you go back a few years, they did an interview with him. And he said during his second wedding, they were pulling down a tree just down the road. He was having the wedding at home or something. So he knew a judge up the road. He got the judge and he took out judge gave him an order to stop him pulling down a tree.
Yeah.
So and his wife was going to university, and with one of the judges, Justice Sackar, wrote up one of the theses or whatever with the judge and interviewed other judges in the court.
Yeah.
So they know all these judges. And I found that out, the link, and I'd raised it on time to time. And, you know, so they had these links there, which was pretty damning at times.
Yeah.
Justice Sackar, who knew the wife, did up a university paper with the wife. He was one of the judges that dealt with the Amber Harris and Tim Warner sex. He should have been nowhere near it.
Crazy.
Unbelievable.
There's just like there's no hope.
Yeah.
Well, it's shining the light on them that gives you hope. And it's like the federal court now, at least with the big cases, is going on video, live streaming it. Live streaming should be for every court case, except for, say, family court, whatever.
Yeah.
Now to cut out a lot of the lies. I can tell you now, I used to rip into the judges and really give it to them. Within the confines of the law, you're entitled to. And sometimes it'd be 3 and 4 court sheriffs in the back of the court. You know, rip into the judges, and that would have been a big ratings. I can tell you now, some of the fights I had with them. But it would have also shone a light on the fact that you got a big media baron, Kerry Stokes, going to court and getting super injunctions, suppression orders left, right, and centre, non-publication orders. You would have seen the fact that he's in there ex parte. I didn't even know about it. So all you'd see is his barrister.
I see.
And that would have shone a light on the corruption. So it's heading in the right direction.
Yeah, it's important. And like, I don't know, maybe like a closing sentiment from you. In terms of, I mean, you're, like we said, you're an important voice as a non-mainstream media. Like, what would you say for someone else who may be wanting to do what you're doing and, you know, kind of be a different voice? Like, what do we, I'm running out of time. Yeah, we need like more voices like you to, you know.
Yeah, especially people who have been at the, you know, as a victim of the courts and big corporations. Do you have any words for them?
Well, the best thing they can do is set up their own website for free, and tell their story there. And then they can approach the media to help sort of highlight it via my Twitter accounts and YouTube channels and that. But they should write up their story themselves on the website, as long as they're not breaching suppression orders, like a family court matter, and tell their story there, and then approach the media. I get people approaching me sometimes and say, can you write my story? Quite often it's way too complex, going back years. It'll take me forever to try and verify it all. So they're better off writing their own story. You can set up a website for free nowadays. Put it up there, approach the media, and someone like me, because I understand a lot of it. Personal, unless you have the personal experience of a judge doing the dirty on you, it's really hard to believe it for a lot of people. Oh, Jesus Christ, the judges can't be that corrupt, can they? They are. Not in every case, of course. And you see because a lot of it's being televised now, I think that helps with the public's confidence in the judicial system.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't help too much, because you look at robo-debt, everyone was saying how great the Catherine Holmes, the former Queensland judge, was doing. She was a commissioner in the robo-debt Royal Commission.
Mhm.
But what happened at the end? She suppressed all the names of the criminal charges she had recommended against people.
Yeah.
Other Royal Commissions have named the people, and you know what criminal charges have been recommended. She did the dirty, and where's it gone into? A black hole.
Yeah.
She might have looked great on the video, saying she's going to help, holding people to account. But when it ultimately come to holding people to account, it went into a black hole, and we don't know if we'll ever see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just because it's being televised doesn't mean they're not acting corruptly.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's a decision
Yeah.
that counts.
Well, I think we're out of time. I appreciate you coming on today on the Zoom and talking to us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Yeah, this has been very insightful. We appreciate it, and it will be something definitely that I'm sure.
You've changed my mind
Yeah.
a little bit about something about judges and the corruption of it all.
Yeah.
It's true that if you haven't experienced it, you really just don't see it.
Yeah.
And so hearing your story is really important. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and so realistically, if you aren't a voice in Australian media and you weren't, publicising it, who is? So it is very important work that you're doing, and I think we appreciate it, and many people do. So thank you for coming on today.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Okay.
So I hope you enjoyed the interview. You probably know me a bit better now. Some of my ideas, some of my thoughts, some of my viewpoints. And I'll finish off like I finish off all my videos. Kangaroo Court of Australia's independent media. I publish a website and a YouTube channel. And I'm 100% crowdfunded from viewers like yourself. So please support my Patreon account. I currently have 416 supporters donating $2,385 a month. And I need to almost double that to become financially viable. And you can donate any amount, $3, $5, $10, $15, $20, $30, $40, $50 a month, whatever suits your budget. It all helps out. And the link for the Patreon account will be below this video on YouTube and also on my website. And please share this video on social media. And please hit the like and subscribe button. Other than that, thank you for your time and have a good day.